Welcome everyone to The Explainer. I am so incredibly pumped for this breakdown today because honestly, the stakes absolutely could not be higher. We are looking at a monumental do-or-die World Cup knockout clash, Portugal versus Croatia. You know, this tournament has been an absolute roller coaster so far, and today we're going to unpack exactly what Portugal needs to do to survive. So let's dive right into this pre-match scouting report and see what the data and the history are actually telling us. To really grasp the magnitude of this matchup, we've broken it down into 6 crucial areas. We're going to look at the knockout stage chaos, Portugal's tactical identity crisis, and Croatia as the mentality monsters. Then we'll cover the tactical non-negotiables for Portugal, the midfield survival battle, and finally, Ronaldo's ultimate knockout test. Let's kick things right off with part 1, the knockout stage chaos, and surviving the unpredictable World Cup. Look, this tournament has been completely unhinged. We've seen massive, heavy-hitting teams pack their bags entirely too early simply because they failed to adapt. Which really brings us to the big question, right? Is Portugal walking directly into a World Cup trap? Ask yourself, are they underestimating just how dangerous this volatile round of 32 environment actually is? I mean, we've seen unbelievable upsets already. Just look at the absolute chaos in matchups like Netherlands versus Morocco, Germany against Paraguay, or Japan versus Brazil. Huge favorites are either barely scraping by with massive comebacks, or they're just completely collapsing. In this tournament, if you underestimate your opponent for even a split second, you are going to be the one going home. So, the absolutely crucial point here is the number 90. Portugal has exactly 90 minutes of pure survival mode ahead of them. You cannot look ahead to the quarterfinals. You cannot look at the semifinals. It is 90 minutes to survive, catch your breath, and then face another 90 minutes. It's just a grueling, step-by-step fight for their tournament lives. And you know, before we even get into the hardcore tactics, there's this fascinating, almost superstitious hurdle they have to clear. History, and frankly a lot of recent buzz, suggests that Portugal's away shirts bring them nothing but terrible luck. It's literally viewed as a total jinx. Now, I know it sounds a bit crazy, but at this elite level, any bad omen feels magnified, right? Honestly, history really does show that putting on that away kit is basically inviting a curse. Moving past the superstitions, let's jump into Section 2, Portugal's tactical identity crisis and their search for Plan A and B. Because when we look at their actual on-pitch setup, well, it is frankly pretty alarming. The contrast here is just glaring. The tournament favorites? They're incredibly organized. Think about Argentina. Their identity is crystal clear. They play a system entirely built to maximize Lionel Messi. France? Everything flows through the sheer dominance of Kylian Mbappé. Even Brazil has their distinct flair. But Portugal? They are suffering from a severe identity crisis. Their plan A just hasn't looked convincing at all during the group stages. And what's worse, if they go down a goal, that emergency plan B, the one managers pull to completely flip the dynamic of a game, seems totally non-existent right now. Roberto Martinez just hasn't shown us what that emergency lever looks like. And that lack of a cohesive plan brings us perfectly to Section 3, Croatia, the mentality monsters, and the evolution of a tournament juggernaut. It is genuinely terrifying when you look at who is standing on the other side of the pitch. Though there is a tiny silver lining here. Historically, the team that knocks Croatia out of recent World Cups, like France back in 2018 or Argentina in 2022, they actually go on to win the whole thing. But beating them, that is incredibly difficult because Croatia has evolved. They aren't just relying on aging stars anymore. They are a highly technical, endlessly patient machine. They are absolutely loaded with two-footed players who excel at elite passing, and they've perfectly balanced this with physicality at the back with guys like Gvardiol and Stanisic. They don't just rely on imposing themselves physically anymore. They outthink you, they outpass you, and their mentality is completely unshakable. To sum up their reputation, they are very often seen as the team to beat, or as some have brilliantly dubbed them, Morocco's big brother. They might not have that flashy, explosive star power of a France or Brazil across the entire front line, but make no mistake, they are built to grind you down, ruin your game plan, and punish your absolute slightest mistake. Knowing all of that, let's get into Section 4, Tactical Non-Negotiables for Portugal. This is the blueprint for survival. Portugal has to play an almost perfect game here. There is absolutely no room for error. Let's break down this literal survival blueprint. Step 1, they absolutely must score first. History shows that in major tournaments, when Portugal concedes first, they really struggle to recover that deficit. Step 2, Rafael Leao has got to start. They cannot rely on safer options like Pedro Neto right now. Why? Because Leao brings fear. Just like we saw in the Colombia test, Leao is one of the very few players willing to take a defender on one-on-one, create space, and break through those stubborn defensive lines. Without him, Portugal just gets way too predictable. And step 3, do not go to penalties. We'll touch on exactly why in just a second. Now, if Portugal fails to be aggressive and instead decides to sit in a low defensive block, it is a disaster waiting to happen. Sitting back invites chaos. Historically, when Portugal sits back, they are incredibly vulnerable to giving up unpredictable goals, specifically from crosses leading to lethal far post headers. Croatia will happily swing the ball in all day long if Portugal just invites that kind of pressure. Which brings us right to Section 5, the midfield survival battle. This is going to be brains versus brawn in the center of the pitch. Because games like this, they aren't won in the penalty box. They are won right in the middle of the park. Let's compare these two midfields. On one side, Portugal has Vitinha, João Neves, and Bruno Fernandes. These are incredibly technically gifted players. But against Croatia's gritty, highly experienced, and physically imposing midfield led by Luka Modric and Ivan Perisic, it's a massive mismatch in physicality. You see, you can complete 800 beautiful passes, but if you lack physical protection, say by not bringing in someone like Ruben Neves for cover, one wrong pass is going to be intercepted, and Croatia will counterattack and punish you in just 10 passes. Without that physical anchor, Portugal's midfield is prone to just chasing shadows all game long. Everything we've discussed so far funnels directly into Section 6, Ronaldo's ultimate knockout test, legacy on the line. This is one massive, highly emotional storyline. We are looking at potentially Cristiano Ronaldo's final World Cup knockout match. The stakes for his legacy here are astronomically high. So the crucial point really is this dual threat. First, can the team actually formulate a plan to create chances for him? They have to take risks offensively to feed him the ball. And second, when he gets those chances, can Ronaldo deliver that final killer blow? There's really no sugarcoating it. If Ronaldo blanks in this game, Portugal is going home. Period. And remember step 3 of our survival blueprint earlier? Do not go to penalties? Well, this is exactly why. 100%. That is Croatia's flawless penalty shootout win rate at the World Cup. It's insane. If Croatia scores first, they're going to drain the clock, slow down the game with their immense experience, and happily drag Portugal into extra time and penalties. And in a shootout against Croatia, the stats say you are already dead. Portugal absolutely must win this in regular time. So, I leave you with this to ponder. Can Ronaldo finally break his World Cup knockout curse and elevate this tactically vulnerable Portugal side, or is this Croatian mentality monster going to mark the absolute end of the road? Keep your eyes on that midfield battle, watch for Rafael Leao's impact, and buckle up because this is going to be an unforgettable 90 minutes. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer, and I'll catch you next time.